Welcome to Parallax Views, the great screen queen and actress, all around great actress, I should say, very versatile, Robin Sidney.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here. You guys are awesome.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for coming.
Well, we loved Corona Zombies and Barbie and Kendra Save Tiger King so much that we had to get you on the show.
Thank you. Definitely brings some humor in these times, which make us feel like we're inside of a pretzel.
Yeah, for real. Especially all the cut-ins with Trump footage. It's exactly the kind of comedy I think we all need.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it was really fun to film, but bizarre because everybody's wearing masks and we're social distancing, but we're trying to film, and it's like, woo!
So, like, how fundamentally different is it to film now as opposed to before the pandemic? Like, what kind of social distancing goes into the production of a film?
Yeah, so the set was like maybe 8 total people. So it was very tiny. We all had masks. So in between takes, we would put on our masks. And we, like, the whole crew, like, we actually had to have 3 cameras so that we could do it quick. We did the whole shoot in 5 hours.
Wow.
Very quick, just like in and out. Like the makeup person doing, makeup would have the mask. Like I couldn't have the mask when I was getting my makeup done, but like when I put the mask on, then like my makeup would rub off, and like it was. But we all, it was very different. But at the same point, we hadn't seen anybody for so long. We were like, it was good to see everybody, and yeah, it was interesting, but it was so fun for sure.
Before we get more into Barbie and Kendra Save Tiger King and Corona Zombies, which I'm glad that you were more involved with Barbie and Kendra. I felt like it added something extra.
Well, actually, the other one, the Corona Zombies.
You're a voiceover in that.
Yeah, it was literally the first day of quarantine. Mm-hmm. And I did all my conversations on my phone, like recording on my phone. So I would never left. So it's really interesting.
Well, yeah. I wanted to ask you, how did you get into acting? I guess you've been acting since you were a teenager, right? Local theater?
Yeah, you're right. I started acting when I was like a kid, I think maybe 8 or before professional acting in Boulder, Colorado.
Even younger than teenager, yeah.
Yeah, I was like obsessed. I don't know, I like being somebody different for a moment. And there was something called the Peanut Butter Players in Boulder, and we actually served lunch and like high tea to people, like in like little trays. And the director, Joanne, was very strict, like, which was a good thing because as a kid, you need that to kind of like, I don't know, get yourself in gear. And there's actually a lot of people in the Peanut Butter Players that moved on to a lot of things, like Sutton, I forgot her last name, but she's on Broadway. There's another person on Broadway, and then there was a guy in Planet of the Apes. Like lots of actors kind of came out of the Peanut Butter Players. So it was a great place to start. And I started film when I was 14, like, professionally film in Colorado, where the only thing to do were like industrials, and like I did a lot of Bible TV shows and a lot of Christian, because that's like what there was in Colorado. And then I was like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, I wanted to say, so do any of the people that saw those Christian shows, did they find out that you've been in these gory horror movies afterwards?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's funny. And yeah, so then I really wanted to move to California. Like, I was like, I gotta like get my stuff, like gotta move here. And my grandma lived in California. And so we came here on a family vacation when I was 17, and I like set up a bunch of meetings with agents. And I was like, Mom, while we're going on this family vacation, I'm just gonna see. So I did, and actually Jessica Biel, she went to my high school.
Really?
And And my sister carpooled with her all the time. And like her brother was in my class and she was in my sister's class. And so she hooked it up with our school so that she could like still graduate at the school and like be a part of the school, but fly to California for pilot season. So I was like, this is like what I want to do. And so basically I flew out, I got a bunch of meetings with the agent. I locked one in and I was like, Mom, now we got to move to California. She's like, no. Like you have to talk with your principal and you have to get permission that you can still graduate at this school and take no shortcuts. And if she says that, which my mom thought wasn't going to happen, then you can do it. So I went to my principal and she said yes. And so my senior year of high school, I moved to California. I did my classes online. I went to a football game, prom, and graduation. So it was pretty cool. So that's when I moved to California.
So how did you first start getting roles when you moved to California? What was your first experience of Hollywood like?
Oh my goodness. So different than it is right now. I had this vision of what it was supposed to be like. And well, first of all, I'm from Boulder. So like in Boulder, it's a very small town. So like I waved to everybody. I'm like, hey, yeah, that's, you cannot do that in California. Like I learned that real quick because that means like they want you. So I was like, okay. But like, okay, so I went to this place called Samuel French and I got this book and it's like the agent book. And I'm like, I need, I had the agent, but I needed a manager. So it was like this book, the manager book. And so first I literally cold called. I didn't really know. I feel like there's no right or wrong way to do anything. Everybody has their own right path. It could be random. You could be walking on the street and something random happens. But basically I started off with managers that I didn't necessarily want. And I cold called just to practice. And it always went to voicemail until I figured out what to say and then went through. And then finally I called the manager that I wanted. And then I got them just like a full cold call. Apparently I was the only one. Like they represent like Halle Berry and Taraji P. Henson and like a bunch of different people. They unfortunately got caught in the scandal. So they had to close their doors pretty quickly. But for a very long time it was, it was fun. So that's how I got a manager. And then just like they set you up on a bunch of auditions. I think I'm trying to think like what my first job was here. I want to think it was like either ER or like the Andy Dick show or something.
Yeah, I saw you were in the Andy Dick show, ER, and I think you were even on Drake and Josh. Yeah, I remember the Drake and Josh appearances.
That was super fun. That started off as like, I got the one job and then also they kept bringing my character back and it was so fun. And I will say that Drake is hilarious to work with. And like, he literally, when you're in school and they like pass notes to you, well, he would do that right before shooting. So he'd pass the note to me, I'd read it and I'd be like, what? And then they'd be like, action. I'd be like, awesome. So it was pretty funny.
So yeah. Was there any auditions that you didn't get the part for, but would be interesting to know about for the audience? Anything you tried out for?
I got second choice on like so many things. So for example, like Napoleon Dynamite, I went back so many times and it was on the Fox lot. And I remember being in the trailer, they were doing the voiceover for like Bart Simpson while I was there in the waiting room for the Napoleon Dynamite. And they kept, directing me over and over and over. And it was like something about seahorses or something. And they liked it so much, they actually got my permission to like put the audition on somewhere, but I still haven't seen it like announced anywhere. But, and then The Ring, I was second choice for The Ring and Piranha. And I almost got like a soap opera. I flew out to, it was between 5 girls, 3 from California, 2 from New York. And they flew us down. And I remember like when we got there, the 3 girls from LA, we were like going in the elevator of our hotel. And the elevator got stuck in the middle of the floor. And we were like, I guess we're not going to get the part. And they had to drag us out. And I swear, like, the screen test is basically where you basically film an episode of the TV show, and you're there with all these people, and like it was my dad and then my boyfriend, and it was like all these people who were there were like in a soap opera. Like there was this guy there who apparently was supposed to go to jail in real life, but because they kept rewriting his character, they didn't bring him to jail. And then there was like this lady who looked like she was like 150 from like down here, but her face was like 20. And then like the guy who played my boyfriend, he came in for a kiss and he was like full on like alcohol breath. Whew. So I would have had to move there, like pick up my stuff and move there in 2 weeks and start shooting. So I was actually really grateful I didn't get it because it felt very overwhelming. And I almost got, there was like a Molly Shannon show on Fox that I screen tested for. It was like second choice. I'm trying to think, there were so many second choices. Halloween. Rob
really?
Zombie, I kept going back so many times for that. Almost got that. Like they kept moving to different characters. Like, are you going to be this character or this character? I don't know. Like there's been so many. Oh yeah, when I was in Colorado, I auditioned for What Woman Wants, and it was down to like 4 people. But it was interesting because it was like from Colorado, like there. So it was kind of an exciting like first, big opportunity. I don't know, like it's just an adventure. And what's really funny is sometimes when you think you're definitely not going to get the part because you feel like you just didn't do it, you get it. And like I've had moments where I had my pages and they flew all over the room and I was like, all right, definitely not going to get that one. And then like you get it. So it's just like one of those things where when it comes to acting and auditions, you have no idea what you're going to get. There's no right or wrong. There's no theory. It's just you go in, you have a fun time. Basically, doing the audition is kind of doing the job. And if you get it, cool. And if you don't, cool. It's like when I first started, I thought it was like, oh, I did a bad job. It has nothing to do with that. It really has nothing to do with any of that. So
I was going to say, it seems like you keep a really positive attitude about acting. And I think you need that to survive in Hollywood in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, it's such a weird thing because it's like you're selling you are the product. Like I also have a business with my mom and we sell products.
Zorbits.
Separate from you, yeah. But like when you're an actor, you're selling you are the product. So it's really weird because you have to kind of separate like you from the product of you. Mm-hmm. That makes sense?
Yeah. I was hoping you could kind of expand on that. Like what kind of difficulties does that entail, that kind of self-imposed alienation, I guess? I don't know what words I could use to describe it.
I would say, okay, at first, when I first moved to Hollywood, it was difficult because it was like you're trying to impress everybody. The thing is, when you act, you cannot impress anybody because it has nothing to do with impressing anybody. Acting is about living in the moment, living that story that, you're going to save, your boyfriend, like your dad's mean to you, like you're going to do this thing or get out of this scary house or being chased by monsters, like whatever the circumstance is, that is what it is. So if you can try to separate yourself and the trying to impress thing that we call them schmactors, but that schmactors get in their head about trying to impress, it has nothing to do with that. So if you can try to separate that and just live in the story, then I feel like it makes everything easier. And know that like whether you get the part or not has really nothing. There's so many unknown factors. So
I was going to ask about that idea of like sort of having to separate yourself. I was rewatching, I think it was the first movie I ever saw with you, and that was I think 2008 Wicked Lake. And I saw that when I was, probably right when I was going into college. Perfect time to see it. So my introduction to you was that opening nude scene. And I wanted to ask, to me, mm-hmm. like, if I were an actor, right? And I would say this for male and female actresses, I feel like doing a nude scene would be like kind of awkward when you first do it for the first time. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that. Am I wrong about that? Was it easy or?
No, you are right on. So the first time that I ever had to be uncovered in a movie, it was called The Lost, this movie. And I I was so nervous. I was like, woo! And it was actually with Mark, who was in the same movie as Wicked Lake. So I, at first, like to try to get over the fear, I would like, this is super embarrassing. I've never told anybody this, but I basically like practice, you know, walking around without my clothes on to try to get myself comfortable. I definitely spoke with a lot of actors like, what do you do? Like, you know, because when you're in an intimate relationship and you get to the moment where you're gonna like take off your clothes, it's even it's even a thing.
Well, yeah, like even when you're in a relationship, you know,
right?
being naked makes you feel vulnerable. So I'm imagining you're doing a nude scene, and not only are you around these actors, you're around the crew and the camera people, and it must be, yeah.
Well, they definitely they do this thing called closed set. So it's where only the necessary people are there. But what I did find, and I spoke to some actors, and it was very helpful. And obviously the first time's the worst, and everything else is not like normal either, but it just, you know, once you do it once, you can kind of feel it. But I basically spoke with the actor about like his boundaries. You know, what was he comfortable with? Where could I touch him? What can I do? What made him uncomfortable? Like it's basically like a boundary talk. And once you've had that conversation, because we had to do like a sex scene basically, it kind of like it makes you feel more comfortable. But when in The Lost, actually, this is so funny. So we were supposed to do this love scene and like skinny dip in this water. And it turns out that it was like freezing. It was going to snow. And my manager was freaked out. So my manager actually drove up there to be with me. And they basically hired this guy to like jump in the water to see if we could even go in. He was like, if you jump in this water, you're going to like die, because it was like freezing. And we had like wetsuits and stuff, but basically they changed the scene right on the spot so that we would just, you know, do it outside. And it was so freezing, I couldn't even think. Like this whole idea of like all this stuff in my mind, I'm gonna be naked. I just was like, oh, like I was so cold. And they actually changed the script so like Mark Center, he didn't have to take off, you know, he just, you know, could keep some of his clothes on. So then, but when I did Wicked Lake, what I'll say is this, I was with girls. So it was like, now I'm gonna take it to a level I've actually never experienced. And I remember the four of us, we were super nervous because it's like, you know, it's still professional and you're acting, but we had to do the boundary talk. But I remember the producers, we were trying to explain to the producers how we didn't think it was necessary, that we needed to do this orgy scene, you know, like why do we need to do that? But they convinced us that it was like basically for like the story and the witchcraft and the thing, and then in order to like, they like put it in our mind that it was necessary for the story. And then I remember, because we were all in a circle and like we're all kind of like, you know, like we would kiss like I would kiss one chick, then turn around and kiss the other chick or whatever. And we did do the boundary talk, but it was still really interesting because you could tell one girl, at least one girl I was kissing, was way more comfortable than the other girl, was more nervous. So it is definitely not normal, but it is professional. And it is, you know, I think if it's done like coordinated, you know, but it's just like once you're there, once you've taken off your shirt and everybody saw the goods, it's just like, it's a lot more comfortable because now it's like, it's just you're there on set doing your job, but it's definitely not easy.
You know, it's interesting. I wanted to talk a bit about Full Moon, but this is the sort of lead into that. I remember I was at a movie convention the one time, and Charles Band, you know, the head honcho, the sort of carnival master of the ringleader of Full Moon, was doing his roadshow thing where he shows you how he directs movies and stuff. And one of the things he was showing people how to do is like how you talk to actors, right? And he was like, okay, so you have to do a nude scene. And all the guys start yelling to the woman on the stage. They're like, show us your, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, 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 you don't do that. That makes them uncomfortable. And you would think like people would understand that. But I feel like Charles Band is the type of person that understands, no, you have to make your actors comfortable. You have to understand that there's sort of a psychology to these things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been on set when some of the people had to be like there's a new movie coming out, Blade, and I went to set for a moment, and and one of the actors had a moment where she had to, like, being uncovered, and he was so respectful. They literally shut down the set. There was only, like, I think the cameraman and like the maybe the light persons allowed, and all cameras were shut off. So it was like, that's very respectful, very, because they were doing live filming and whatever. They're like, no live filming, get them out. So, I do think having an intimate moment be kind of intimate, and even though obviously you're being filmed, it's going to be shown later, it's still like, it's interesting.
Yeah. And I think what always impressed me about Charlie, when I met him and when I saw his movies and when I've heard interviews with him, he really seems to get that you have to be a people person to sort of survive an indie film. Maybe you could comment on what's his approach like?
Well, he is such an easygoing, super, like, he's like your best friend on set, everybody's best friend. And he really promotes, like, creativity. Like, it's not like, it's always, I've been on sets where it's like, like, everything's crazy. And he's just kind of like chill, he's like, cool. If there's an issue, he's like, we'll fix it. Which really allows you, to kind of play, and try things.
Do you get to improvise more in those movies?
Yeah, I mean, like, you could totally improvise. Like, you could, sometimes if you improvise, he's like, maybe don't do that next time. But he allows you to kind of like when we did the Kendra and Barbie, I was just like feeling like music. I was like, we have to do like a kiddie song like right now. And obviously didn't make it in the movie, and it's not probably ever going to be shown because everything was really bad. But like, he allowed that creativity to kind of like, play. And I feel like, especially as an actor, it's like, if you're not feeling judged, then you can kind of just do whatever. He's so quick to, like, if he knows he likes it, he just moves on. Like, the majority of the parts that we filmed were done in one take, and we never, like, the beginning we did a few takes, but then like the whole big chunk in the middle was like one take, and we were like, wait, don't you want more? He's like, no, we got it. So he kind of knows what he wants, but he's very comfortable and super easygoing. The whole crew is easygoing, and I think because he sets the tone.
So, what was your first full moon? Was it? I think it was Gingerdead Man.
It was,
with Gary Busey. Okay.
Yeah, so Gingerdead Man was the first movie I filmed in California. I booked The Lost first, and then I booked Gingerdead Man, but I filmed Gingerdead Man first and then did Lost. And obviously with Gary Busey.
So I just got to ask, like, what's it like being just around the Busey? Like, what kind of vibe do you get?
You were only on set with him for one day, right? Okay.
One memorable day. I mean, I was innocent, from Colorado. Like, I don't know all this stuff. When we get to set, first Charlie sits us down, and he basically explains to us about Gary Busey and his reputation, and that we need to be careful and blah, blah, blah. And that what we're going to do is have him come in, do all the scenes first. And then they can always turn the camera around if he, to at least whatever. So that just in case he left, whatever. So when he gets on set, like, at first he's cool, but he's like freaking out because he doesn't have his teardrops, and he's like this whole explosion. Anyway, he does his stuff where he decides he hates the script. He doesn't like it. He wants to throw it all away. And so then we did the stuff, and it's lunchtime, and he had finished, and he was like, oh, I want you to come into my trailer. And I was just like, pretended like I didn't hear, because I heard that I wasn't supposed to go in a trailer. So I was like, doo-doo-doo, and my mom was there with me because she was so nervous. And so then I came back, he's like, what's wrong? Like, why aren't you gonna come in my trailer? And he's pulling on my arm, like, to go in the trailer, and my mom's pulling me back, and it's like tug of war. And he's like, I'm gonna report you to the producer and the director. And I'm like, okay, that's totally fine, because Charlie had already said, like, don't go in his trailer. So Charlie comes, and Gary's like, I just want to speak with Robin. Like, I just want to speak with her. I want to do the scene, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So Gary goes up the stairs. I go up the stairs. Charlie's going up the stairs. Gary pushes him down the stairs, closes the door, and like locks it. And I'm freaking out. So I literally get in full like mode, and I'm just like this, and I'm sitting on this chair. It's like a full-on like trailer with like a bed and a kitchen and like this table, and I'm at the table and I'm like this. He's like, what's up with your mom? I'm like, oh, my mom. Like, I'm trying to pretend like it's all character-y. My mom, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, your mom. I was like, aren't we talking about the character? He's like, yeah. And then he's like, I feel like doing an exercise. I was like, okay. I'm like so terrified inside. Like, I can barely think. So now he's doing this exercise, and he's like, I literally start cry laughing because I was so scared, and now he's being so weird that I like just start streaming tears and cry laughing. Outside, everybody's freaking out. It sounds really bad. The trailer's like shaking a little bit. It's like like this sound, right? And so Charlie knocks on the door to pretend like we have to go to set, and he's like, we have to go to set. And then he's like, see, nothing happened. It looks so bad. He was all sweaty. I had tears streaming down my eyes from cry laughing. And then anyway, I guess apparently like when he did the voiceover stuff, we'd already filmed the movie where the cookie's like, you know, eat me or whatever. And then now he gets to the sound stage. Currently he has like this guitar, and he's like, I'm feeling music. I'm like, okay. And like they play the music. He's like, how long is the shoot gonna take? And he's like, I don't know. How long is the shoot gonna take? And Charlie like, shows him the script because he knew when they did the shoot, like he made up everything, changed the whole thing. He's like, well, I got a chick coming in an hour, and I need to be done. And so then like he literally, Charlie's like, oh great, like freaking out, but like clockwork. He's like, boom, perfect page, boom, 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 like done. And he did a great job. And my only other experience with him, I did like one PR thing where he sat next to me for like 3 hours. And for like 2.5 of those 3 hours, he was super creepy weird. And oh yeah, I forgot one more thing too, I'll tell you. But then like for half an hour, I was like, is this guy normal? Like for a moment, I was like, okay. But what I'll say is, one last thing is, when I was on set, it was my first movie. I wanted a picture. He's a celebrity, whatever. He said the only way I can get a picture with him is if I put his phone number in my phone, and I promised to go visit him in his house in Malibu. So, yeah, that's how I got the picture. I never went to go visit him in Malibu, to be clear.
Oh, thank God.
But I do have that picture.
Yeah. That is perfectly distilled exactly what I expected, and I kind of regret expecting that.
Yeah.
Well, you were like what? You were between like 19 and 21 years old when you did that.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it like on set? I mean, you're running around in a movie about a killer cookie.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. First of all, when Gary Busey was there, I didn't have to act at all. I was freaking scared of him, and so fortunately, I didn't have to be in love with him because it'd be really hard. But I was actually scared of. Well, there's a couple funny moments. I was scared of the cookie, and I actually had nightmares during the filming of it. But for the most part, there was no cookie. Like you were staring at like somebody's hand or like, you know, whatever. But there was this one time, and we had a super late shoot, and it was like, you know, at a certain hour, you get the giggles, and for whatever reason, everything is funny, and you cannot stop laughing. Anyway, there was this moment, and the guy who was playing my boyfriend in the movie, or my love interest in the movie, said like something like, inside a cookie. And like we busted up, and we tried to do so many takes, and Charlie finally said, okay, we're just gonna let you laugh for like a half an hour straight. We were just like laughing our butts off. And then finally, like we got through the scene, but it was definitely one of those just like, like so memorable moments. Like, it was just, you know, you're talking about a cookie that is like running around a bakery, and like, you know, the reality hits you how just hilarious this whole reality is. And it's just
speaking of like unusually hilarious, unexpectedly so, I guess, I'm reminded of like one of your scenes in Evil Bong. You have his pogo stick, and like I just can't imagine you doing that in one take. Like,
was that planned out or was that improvised?
Okay, so this will be one of those moments where remember I had said how Charlie sometimes allows creativity? Yeah. So he found out that I could like jump on a pogo stick without hands. And he's like, oh, show me. So I showed him how I could do that, which is like a super bizarre trait, just being bored as a kid. So then he was like, oh my gosh, we should put this in the movie. That's how he decided to put it in the movie. Is getting excited on the pogo stick. And I think we did maybe like 3 takes or something. And it was definitely one of those hilarious for sure. And a lot of people, they'll be like, they'll remember that moment.
You know,
Oh yeah.
And I actually did it. I forgot which movie. There was another movie I did the pogo stick in, and I don't remember which one it is right now. It was like a TV show, maybe. I'm forgetting.
I was gonna say the thing I like about those Evil Bong movies. I watched the first one again recently for 420 because we were all locked in for 420, right?
Definitely.
But I watched it again, and I was struck by how it's just like a fun movie. I mean, a lot of people like diss on B movies, but I'm like, how can you diss on this movie? All the characters are pretty likable. Like, whereas most horror movies, I hate these dumb characters, right?
Yeah.
But in that movie, like, it's not like they're bad people. I mean, they may have annoying character traits, but you kind of like everyone in it. And it's just like a fun, lighthearted movie. That's what I love about the Full Moon style.
Yeah, it's just super fun and lighthearted, and like it's definitely not cookie cutter, but it's just so fun. And I feel like everybody becomes a family. Like, even though you're filming in like a week, or it's like everybody becomes a tight-knit family, like the Evil Bong family for sure.
Mm-hmm. How many of the Evil Bong movies have you been in?
I've been in all of them. So let's see: Evil Bong, King Bong, The Wrath of Bong, the Evil Bong versus the Gingerdead Man, where I got to beat myself up.
You played both Sarah from Gingerdead Man and Luann from Evil Bong in that movie.
Yeah,
What was the Parent Trap? Is that the famous one?
Yeah, it was super. That was really fun. We basically had somebody who looked like me from like the side, and I would talk to her, and then I would change my outfit and be the other character, and then the other one. It was kind of interesting. Okay, so let's see. So Evil Bong versus Gingerdead Man, and then I don't know, the Evil Bong 777, Evil Bong.
And then you played Luann in Killjoy's Psycho Circus.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, I like playing the clown. That was fun for sure. We actually filmed on Venice Beach. I don't remember which movie, if it was, I think it was the Killjoy, or was it the Evil Bong? But we filmed on, and it was so funny because I got in the crazy clown outfit, whatever, and we're on Venice Beach, and all of these people are walking, just like staring at us. I'm like, Venice Beach has a lot of interesting characters already. So it almost was like I was normal and fitting in, but like, it was really fun. It was really fun.
So when did it get to the point where you're sort of like, as I think Full Moon put it on their website, you became sort of the it girl of Full Moon?
That's cute. I have no idea. I mean, I guess I just like to play, and then they're like, hey, we have this new movie. You want to do this character? I'm like, sure, sounds great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really fun.
So the other thing I wanted to ask about, and then we'll move on to Barbie and Kendra, is I wanted to ask about what is being a scream queen like. I mean, you're a scream queen. You were in a movie about scream queens called Trophy Heads that Full Moon did. I assume we always hear about like the fans' perspective on it, and it can get weird at times because I'm sure you have fans, and I'm probably one of them, that will mention movies that you did a long time ago that no one else seems to remember. It can get weird at times, but I want to know, what's it like being a scream queen from the perspective of an actual scream queen?
I mean, I just feel like, it's interesting, the term scream queen, because I feel like it doesn't make sense in my brain. I feel like I'm a normal person, and I feel like I have a normal life. And I feel like what's cool about doing movies is like you get to kind of play in this moment, and then you move on in your normal life. But then, like, when I go to the conventions and stuff, and I get to meet such cool people who, like, I feel like in a way we're all connecting together in this movie world. Like, I feel like it's like a universe of connection. And when I get to see people and like they're so excited about, I know sometimes I even forget. They're like, this one person's like, can you write all the lines you said? I'm like, I don't, what did I say? So sometimes I don't remember what I said, but it's like, I feel like in a way it's like a connection. And I almost feel like when you're doing a lot of scary movies, it's kind of like a very special connection, because it's not like, it's like a group of almost like a friends that you are connected together because you're playing, and then you're obviously have this work, and then they get to see it, and then in that moment you're connected. So it's kind of interesting, because it's like I almost feel like everybody who, like, when I'm playing, I get to play and have fun, but then once it becomes a project, I almost feel like I'm really good friends with the people, because like we connected in some way. It's
Right.
weird. It's weird, but I feel like I'm a normal person. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are in the industry and actors and whatever. And I feel like, you know, some people like William Shatner and stuff, some people, I do feel bad in a way, because it's like they get inundated with, you know, lots of fans, no matter where they are. Like I saw him at the airport, and like, you know, I've been to dinner with him and stuff, and was like, hey, and he was just kind of like, oh, and then when he realized who it was, he was like, fine. But so I feel like, depending on who you are in the industry, I feel like it could be a little different, but I feel like for me it's just normal. And I feel like everybody I get to connect with for movies is just they're like my friends.
Has it been
friends, like we're connected together?
Has it been like I take it it's been like a generally positive experience? I always think back to I think Danielle Harris. I met her at a few cons, but she was always skittish, and I found out later it's because I guess she had like a stalker for a while. Like, I'm assuming you've never had like issues with like weird dudes and whatnot. I mean, some people can be socially awkward at cons, but usually not in a bad way.
I've been very fortunate. Like I've actually heard of some of my friends who've had some stalkers, but I haven't really had any. Like, I mean, there'll be people who I become friends with. Like, I feel like at the cons, I'm seeing them at every con, and it's like I get to see them. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. So, yeah, I've been fortunate. Like, everybody's been super cool. I just feel like I'm friends with everybody. I'm not great on Facebook. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not great at social media. I like check in, and I try to do my best. I kind of feel bad, because I feel like people probably message me and then they're like, why isn't she responding? And it's just because, I don't know, I'm not a social media kind of like person. But yeah, I've been really lucky. There haven't been too many creepy people. I mean, I would say there's more creepy people in the industry who try to take advantage of their positions and stuff. Like, that is definitely, I feel, more creepy than it is like with the fans. Or the
you mean like the Harvey Weinsteins of the world? Creepy?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like people who expect things, and then you're like, whoa, okay. I feel like that's more creepy, I think, than just normal people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too. I think horror movie fans, like, we take care of our own, right? So
yeah,
you know, even actresses like Linnea Quigley or like Brink Stevens.
So nice. I love those girls.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've even as they've aged, they're still getting roles. People still want to see them. It's we don't sort of just like throw away our heroes.
Yeah, it's like a friend. It's like a very deep friendship. Like Dave Dakota, who's done a lot of movies with them. Like he's recently, like I feel like he really understands that so well about. I mean, I think used to be in the past that you had like an age limit as an actor, but I feel like more people are living longer nowadays and connecting with all ages. So I feel like there really is no age, and it's really interesting how, like, when I go to some of these horror conventions, how you'll see somebody who had a role when they were a kid. But yeah, exactly what you're describing. There was that connection that was made that like impacted people for a really long time, that even when they're older and they don't look the same at all, that there's still that connection that was made.
Yeah, I feel like it's we live in a whole different time period now too, because I think it used to be that, you know, the character actors or the B movie actors, people didn't give them enough credit. And I feel like that's starting to change now. Like people sort of stan or follow like the Steve Buscemi type actor or the Paul Giamatti type actor who's known for like certain roles. Do you think it's more open now for B-movie actors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think that the current platform where there's digital media and like there's so many shows now and there's so many movies now, and I feel like the opportunities are a lot broader.
I also got to say I've always hated the term B movie when people use
Where does that come from?
That's a good question. I've always just found it weird though, because
it is weird.
Not everyone is going to be.
Is the B
like,
side of the film? Is that what it is?
Yeah. I think they would show it like the B side at double feature.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, its original usage during the golden age of Hollywood, the term more precisely identified films intended for distribution as the less publicized bottom half of a double feature.
Cool.
So you'd be correct.
Well, I feel like it's always interested me. I've had people say, this actor didn't get to do the Brad Pitt or the Angelina Jolie role all their life. And I'm like, yeah, but the people who are in these like quote unquote B movies, they're constantly working. They're constantly showing up in movies. Whereas like a lot of those leading actors, after their 10 years, they sort of go away. Like in a way, I think the so-called B movie actors or the character actors, they're like the workhorses of the industry. I
think you're right. That's a very good and a really good thing. You know what I was just thinking in my brain? I don't know if it could work, but there is a thought that occurred to me. Should I try to call Charlie and see if I can get him to come over here and be on this for a second?
That would be awesome, actually.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to work, but, we got John Rinke on the phone, so.
Casey wanted to ask you about that.
I got a couple questions about that whole interview, but.
Yeah, let me try to call Charlie first, and then we'll go into that. But I just figured, I don't know, we've been talking about him so much, and it might be interesting. You never know. It's like, what is it called? Spaghetti? And if it sticks.
Right?
Okay, let's try. Hold on. Okay. This would be hilarious. Hey, how's it going? Yes, I know. Hey, I have a quick question for you. So I'm doing this Zoom call right now. And you know how like how we got like John Rinke and we were doing the Zoom call? Well, I thought it would be kind of interesting if possibly you wanted to come over and just be on the Zoom call for a second. Okay. Well, hey, can I put you on speaker really quickly, and at least you can just real quickly say so. Okay, hold on one second. Okay. All right, so we have Charlie Bands on speaker. These guys really wanted to do an interview with you, so I was like, we were talking, and they're super awesome. But I wanted to, maybe you can answer a few questions.
Sure, we can schedule something, even a Zoom call, another time, because I'm actually on another call. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Sorry for interrupting now.
We loved Barbie and Kendra Save Tiger King and Corona Zombies.
Well, there you go. What a double feature.
Amen to that.
Hey, Charlie,
you are a true legend.
We were talking about you and just how awesome you were on set and stuff, but I just figured if these guys want to ask you a few questions, about whatever.
Yeah, so this is a call on a cell phone on speaker. Zoom call. Boy, welcome to the 21st century.
I have one question. Are we actually going to get Barbie and Kendra in Space Force?
Is it a question? Is it happening?
Will it happen? Yes.
Kendra Save Tiger King. It's awesome. And at the end of the show, there's a whole setup for the Space Force third episode, so to speak. So it's for those who watch the show, it's right there.
Awesome.
I am desperately looking forward to this.
We're probably I want to release it in about 30 days, so we got to film it pretty soon.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you have to. These are pandemic movies, you know. You have to kind of figure out something that's clever and fun. And no, I'm really happy with the way the Tiger King thing turned out, because putting aside the framework of Barbie and Kendra and the way we get into the story, you know, there's a movie in a movie, and it's so funny. You know, it's in the same style as Corona Zombies. We put together a few jungle movies that. One in particular that was sort of a classic made in the 60s called The Terror in the Jungle, and with completely new and very funny voices, especially Leslie Jordan. So who, you know, by great happenstance, plays this 5-year-old blonde kid, and this movie gets lost in the jungle, and through the whole movie he holds a little stuffed tiger. I mean, come on.
That was awesome.
If I could real quick, and then we'll let you go, I just wanted to ask, how did you get the idea to do Corona exploitation movies?
Well, because it's hard to stop doing what we do. I mean, we have 3 movies in post-production. The very next release for us will be Blade, which is the 12 Puppet Master. But, you know, these are movies made, you know, over months, 8, 10, 12 days, you know, on set. With the case of Blade, you know, World War II, and it's, you know, these are movies that are totally impractical to make when you're, you know, you're staying at home essentially. So it was just sort of an idea. I mean, it's been brewing as far as putting some funny dialogue in some of our movies and other movies, a la What's Up, Tiger Lily. I thought that was something we could do. And then the framework sort of came to me. The title came to me out of nowhere. Corona Zombies was first like, oh God, I can't be making that. It's going to get killed. But, you know, the approach is so funny and so disarming. And then once you get into the movie, you're brought into an old Italian classic zombie movie with funny dialogue, and that formula works. So we carried this forward with Barbie and Kendra, and soon Space Force.
Awesome. And
well, thank you very much.
Will we ever get to see Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bullerama too?
Oh, absolutely. You know, for a lot of reasons. We had 3 of them set to shoot literally in the last 3 months. We've made 4 of the 10 Deadly 10 movies. 3 were scheduled March, April, and May, including Subspecies 5. We were all set up in Croatia. Tickets bought. The director, co-inventor of the series, Ted Nicolau, had already been there on a location scout. So all of that had to be postponed until, you know, things get back to normal. And then this summer, we were going to shoot. Now we'll have to push it back probably to the fall, the new Sorority Babes. So we're making our way through the Deadly 10, but, you know, you can't sit still for months at home without making some movies. That's why we're doing the Corona exploitation movies.
Well, we salute you here at Parallax Views for making Corona exploitation. You're getting us through the quarantine.
Well, you guys got to see this new one. It's really actually extremely funny. It's one of those few movies that I mean, people not only call me telling me they like it, but that it's so freaking funny they're going to watch it again. So, yeah, I think we hit on something really clever. And Leslie Jordan is amazing. I mean, the girls are awesome. They hold it all together. It's ditzy as hell. But the whole thing kind of works. It's a strange concoction of different film formats, different eras, but it kind of plays. So, and we should definitely set up a Zoom call one day. You know, not this very minute, but that'd be fun.
Yeah, these guys are awesome. They have good questions, so. Cool.
Well, I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to get out of here. But, watch the movie, dudes.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Perfect. Well, hey.
Thank you very much for that.
I actually appreciate that. Unexpected, but that was awesome.
Well, there's always unexpected miracles, right? On every corner.
Do you have time for maybe a few more questions, and then we can close out?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I know, Casey, you wanted to ask about Tiger King.
Yeah. So, like, at what point I imagine Tiger King reached its ascendance in Netflix around the time that Corona Zombies 1 came out. So, like, what was the logistics of trying to get a hold of anyone on set to, like, tie it in?
That's a great question. So basically, it was actually funny. So, Charlie first wrote the script, and the original script didn't have anybody in it. But he really wanted to get somebody to be in it. So the original script was like us just calling the prison and trying to get, you know, to John. Like, it was more like that. So he works with somebody named Chris Alexander, who used to, who's, you know, amazing, tons of connections. And he
helped us set up this interview.
Oh, yes. Yes, we love him for that. And he basically is like, he doesn't understand any barriers. So basically Charlie's like, I really want to get one of these guys to be in the movie. And his actually dream was John Rinke. So Chris tried to call, the zoo's closed. He tried everything to try to get to this somebody. And then he was like doing some digging. He became like a CIA investigator. And he found that John Rinke worked at a car mechanic. And then he dug deep and he found out the name of it. Like, I think he found some newspaper or something. He was like, he didn't know if that was the actual one. So he just like, let me just call. He called and it turns out he is working there. John Rinke is working at this car mechanic or something to do with race cars or something. So basically Chris Alexander like called like a crazy person, was like, hey, we need whatever. And John connected to Chris, like they connected together and set up a call with Charlie. And John was basically like, just so you know, it's me. Here's a picture. And then Charlie got on like a call with him. And they basically were like, yeah, I want to do this. And I think it's John's first movie ever, because they did the Netflix show and like the interviews, but like, I think this is his first movie. So he was super excited. We actually did to make sure everything's working. Actually, the computer I'm on right now talking to you guys is actually the computer in the movie and is actually the Zoom on the movie. And what's really funny is actually I had to change my name, like Robin City, to Kendra. And I ended up having a Zoom call after, and I was like, who's Kendra? I was like, oh. But we did like a mock call and it was super fun. And then obviously when we did the movie, it was almost like everything was around that. It was like the morning, like everybody's so nervous just to make sure we got John on the call. And he's such a nice guy, like such a, like you just want to like hug him, you know? And we did have some of the questions that we were going to ask him kind of, you know, we knew what we were going to ask him, but he didn't know what we were going to ask him. And yeah, it was just, there's actually a longer interview. We actually spoke with him for 25 minutes. Which is actually recorded on this computer right now, but they're going to release it on the site at some point, the full interview. So there was a lot of interesting stuff that came out. It was really a fun experience.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting part when he was talking about, at least for me, was just the fact that Netflix didn't pay him like any money. Right. Like what he said, he got like $12,000 or something afterwards.
But that was only like in the new one that he just did, but not the original. I know, I was shocked about that too.
Like 5 years of documentary work in that. Oh, I'd be pissed, especially if everyone in your neighborhood knows you now as like the Tiger King guy.
He said it's so weird because he did the show and then basically went into quarantine, but they had to go out they went to some restaurant or something. And he's like, where it would normally take him 10 minutes, it was like 30 minutes because there was all these people. And he's just like, this is so weird. Like, I've never experienced this before. It's pretty interesting because they're all like self-isolating, but obviously he has this really cool leg. So it's more noticeable, like, you know, from a distance, you could tell like him. But yeah. He's such a nice guy, and his girlfriend is so sweet too. So
yeah, she makes a little cameo in the end credits, I think.
Yeah, we did. Like after we did the interview with him, we did a full interview. Like Charlie came in, and then we did an interview. So that the part they took in the movie, I guess the hardest part where there was so much great material in the interview that they were working really hard to cut it down because they couldn't make the whole movie this interview, 25 minutes. So yeah, they will release it separately, which I'm excited to see too. But it was a fun. There's so much interesting stuff that he said.
So
sure.
did he know? I assume that it wasn't like, because at first I thought, did they just ask him if he could do an interview, and you guys sort of like maybe tricked him into thinking it would be a serious interview, but then it was part of the movie? Or I think he knew, right?
Yeah. So Charlie said, "Hey, I'm doing this movie, and we want to, like, and Barbie and Kendra save the Tiger King, and we want to interview you and put it in the movie." So he knew that it was going to be in the movie. And that was kind of like the deal, that we're going to interview him, and yeah. So
Okay. So it wasn't like a prank. He was sort of in on.
No.
Okay.
It was fully, like, it was scheduled. Like, we did the, like, the mock one the day before, and we made, like, actually it was so cute. Like, the day before, his girlfriend and him were trying to get the Zoom to work. He was just like, "I can't get this computer to work. I'm not techno." And then he finally got it to work, and it was just, he's such a sweet guy. And we scheduled the next morning when we got to set. It was the first thing we did. So it was like 9:00 interview. And then once we got past that, then it was just like, then the day was easy. We wanted to make sure that, that was, for me, my only concern in the morning. I was like, just going to make sure this interview works, because I love that show, the Netflix show. And it was just like, I was just like, I can't believe that I get to ask him like these. I felt so, like, honored, and it was pretty wild.
You're actually the first person we've had on the show that I can, at least for a brief moment of time, commiserate over Tiger King, because that show was just everything about it. Like,
I agree.
I can't explain it to my co-host because I don't think you've seen it yet, right, Joe?
I need to get on that. Apparently,
Oh,
I'm
you
ashamed.
No, don't be ashamed. It's you get a chance to look forward to something, for sure. It's like so out there. It's like when you think you saw it all, you're like, what? It's
like
crazy.
by the time he starts running for libertarian governor of Oklahoma, I'm like, oh, I'm all in now. This is perfect.
It's a really fun ride. I highly recommend it. Yes.
So when Corona Zombies it seems like it did pretty well. And immediately, I saw news coverage about it. People were saying, this may be just what we need during this time of quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So how did Barbie and Kendra Save Tiger King come about? Like, were you approached, and were you like, was this always in the works, or?
You never know exactly what's in Charlie's mind, but this is actually really funny. So I was talking with Charlie about the Netflix show, because we had both seen it, and I thought it was crazy. And then I was basically making up if we, and I don't know if it was me who instigated or him who instigated it, but I think he at first said, I want to do something with the Tiger King because it's so big and it's like everybody's watching it, and he wants, he's trying to basically keep things light for everybody during these very weird and bizarre, difficult times. So he wanted to, do something. So I was like, well, maybe we should, call Carol Baskin. And he's like, what would you say? And I kind of went on this whole rant, like, what I would say to Carol Baskin. And I like sang the song. And anyway, it was just hilarious. He's like, we're doing it. We're doing the movie. And I was like, what do you mean we're doing it? He's like, I'm going to let you know in a few days. Like, we're going to do this thing. But I was like, Carol Baskin, like, what did you do to Joe? Like, I went off for like 10 minutes. And then like 2 days later, he's like, yep, we're going to make the movie, and I'm going to get you the script in about a week and a half. And we're going to shoot it then. So yeah, it was pretty quick, but I don't know. I think Charlie's he's always kind of ahead of things and very quick. So, but we definitely talked about it before, and it was just funny.
I was going to say, he is always ahead of things. I remember when VHS was still like the big thing, he was doing special features at the end of the movie on the VHS before DVD and Blu-ray and all that stuff was a thing. He's always ahead of the curve. It's incredible.
His brain is like amazing. Like, he's always thinking way ahead, and he's done things before anybody was doing them. So yeah, he's just got that. His whole family is he's got this really cool history. Like, his dad made movies, his grandfather made art, his mom, so he was actually babysit by Marilyn Monroe because his dad worked with John Huston, and they discovered Marilyn Monroe. And there's like this book, and I don't know when they're going to release it, but his dad wrote this book about when he discovered Marilyn. And it's just like Charlie grew up in this world, and I just feel like it's always in his mind.
Does his family own like some, is there like a castle in Romania or something? I know there's a bunch of full moon movies like Castle Freak, and there was one you were in, Skullheads, that are all filmed at that castle.
Yeah, so okay. When Charlie was a kid, like, and I don't know all the facts, I'm just going to go off my best knowledge of the facts, which is, you still got to fact check it. But based on my knowledge, when he was a kid, he moved with his family first to France, and then to Italy. And it was only going to be 1 year. And then, because his dad was making spaghetti westerns. And then they basically stayed there. So from like a really young age, Charlie grew up in Italy. Until he was like 20 or something, they went back to the States. So Italy is always part of his life. So he basically wanted this castle. And they had this castle there, and they have this weird thing in Italy where you can do the auction, and then if you light a match, and then the match goes out, then whoever did the bid at the time the match went out or something bizarre, they get the castle. And so this guy was calling him, and Charlie was in California, and all of a sudden, like, he gets a call, like, oh, you got the castle. And he's like, what? So he got this castle, and it was like 800 rooms. It's really big. And yeah, we got to film there. I think he sold the castle now, which actually was perfect timing because there was a crazy earthquake. But he has a place that's near there that's like, it's a mill that was dug and buried inside the ground that he basically dug out. And it's this whole structure. It's crazy. And I think he's going to film one of the Deadly Tens there in Italy. So
real quick, I just want to touch on something briefly with regards to acting. I mean, I think when we talk about scream queens, a lot of people are just like, oh, they're the eye candy of horror movies. And I kind of hate that. I mean, obviously, like, whether you're a male actor or a female actor, looks sort of matter in Hollywood, whether that's good or bad. But I think women in film don't get enough credit for acting, especially in horror movies. Like, if you're in dramas, oh, that's great. But, when it comes to horror movies and comedies, people don't realize, like, pulling off a good scare or a good laugh is hard to do. You have to have good timing. I think I told you that. You have good comic timing.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fun, I guess.
Is that sort of your, well, I guess I was just trying to ask, like, what's your approach to acting? Like, I know there's different, like, there's method and whatnot, but. Yeah,
that's a really interesting question. So I've kind of morphed through. When I first did film, I was very method, to the point where, like, I was almost like, if I was going to be in a mean scene, I was like not the nicest person to be around on the set, because I was like in character. And I realized, wait, that's not good. I need to be like myself, and then I can be in character. So I actually worked with this awesome teacher who basically taught, each person has a different approach, but she really understood the brain and how it works. Her name's Diana Castle. And she was like, you read the words, and then they're not words. You envision the situation that happens. Like memories. Like, if you're going to tell me about your childhood, you're not going to think of words. You're going to think about the experiences that happened. And so it's really interesting, because once I went to that class, which I'm not in acting class right now, but every now and then I'll pop in different classes, you learn different things. But I feel like it's really interesting to understand the human body and how it works. And this is just me, and each person's different. Everybody has a different technique, and it works differently for everybody. That's the thing about acting. But I think the more honest you are, the better it comes off. And the less you have to think about the words, then it's easier. So really, when I call it like playing in the world, it's just like, it's all the memories. And that the person that you're with, like most acting stems from your childhood. Most people, who they are in real life, stems from your childhood. Like, it's kind of like your psychology. So basically, when you're looking at a story, it's like, you know, obviously this current movie was pretty easy because we're all dealing with it. I didn't really have to like, you know, imagine that much about what was going on, because I was like, this is real. I understand all of this, and I just have to put the words to those thoughts that I'm having. But because I saw the Netflix show, you know, I had my opinions about Carol Baskin. I definitely understood social distancing, self-isolating. It was just like, I don't really have to imagine that much. But some characters that you play, you have to imagine more to kind of like, you know, try to live in that world. Because if you get to live in the world, that is the most fun, where you don't really have to think about anything. You're just there. You're experiencing, you're having a conversation in a different world, in a different person's body. I don't know really how to describe it.
Was there ever a film that you were in where you had to work with an actor who maybe their approach was just like, you're like, this is too much? Like I've always heard the story about Peter Weller on the set of RoboCop, and he demanded that everyone call him Robo, and he would be RoboCop offset. Like, I'm assuming you've never dealt with that kind of like wildness.
Well, okay, so nothing bad to say against Mark Center, because he is an amazing actor and he is very, very talented. But I did do the movie The Lost with him,
which is an incredible movie. It's not only a horror movie; it's like a real drama. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a fun experience, and it was one of my first movies. So like, first I had Gary Busey, and then I had The Lost. So these are my first like two experiences, and Andy Dick, which was also intense. But Mark, yeah, we filmed this movie for like I want to say like a month to 6 weeks, and you were not allowed to call Mark. It was always Ray. He was Ray. Even his voicemail changed. So when you called him on his phone, it was like, "Hi, you've reached Ray." I think his character's name's Ray. And you had to call him Ray on set. Like, if somebody didn't, he freaked out. And fortunately for me, most of the movie I was in love with him. So our scenes were like great. I got like his warm side, and you know, it was wonderful. But there was, you know, towards the end of the movie where he gets pretty intense. And I actually got a little bit nervous because he was so like character, like, so actually, we had a stunt. He was supposed to beat me up in the movie, and we had like a stunt person come and put pillows down and stuff. So just in case, but like, it was so real. There was glass shattering all over. Like, my arm actually got popped out of the socket because, and I had to go and get it fixed. One of the girls had like the marks on her, and you know, obviously we were all in the moment. It was fine. It was acting, but it was also very dangerous, you know, like, and I'm fortunate that I didn't have to have a lot of those dark scenes with him. But that was definitely something that it felt a little dangerous, and it felt interesting. And then when we did Wicked Lake after, he played a completely different character. So it was different experience. He was also a little bit more laid back then. Like, I didn't have to call him by his character the whole time necessarily. And, you know, I think he won a bunch of awards for his part in The Lost. And I think he just really dove deep into that world.
I love when he gives you the little unicorn picture in Wicked Lake, and you're like, is that how you see me? It's an oddly warm moment for an otherwise completely insane sort of like, this movie wants to offend you film.
Yeah, it's true. It was really weird. It was like, when I read that he made me this unicorn, for some reason it was so touching to me, because I feel like he's such this awkward guy, and it was like his soul or something. And so it was, for me, it was almost like the most important moment in that movie, even though it wasn't at all, and there's arcs and things and other things, but it was like, when he gave me that unicorn picture, it was so like I even have the feelings in my heart right now talking about it. Like it feels so like, it almost feels like I was dating him in real life, and that picture was so important. Like, even though I was, you know, I was acting, it was just like that moment for sure still lives with me as, you know, me. Like it was really special, and it was bizarre because it was like just a unicorn picture, and it was, yeah, it was really interesting.
Did you I forgot to ask, did you get to meet Al Jurgensen for Ministry while working on it, or no? He played the art teacher in it. He's big in the metal scene.
Yes. So because he's got the long black hair.
Yeah, and the piercing.
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, I'm like a visual person. I'm not as much a name person. Yeah, like he was super cool. Like I kind of remember his long hair walking around. Like, and I think that night that he was there, I feel like we had steak and lobster dinner or something, because they wanted to like be all. So all the other dinners we had on set were like, you know, normal craft food, but it was like that night it was like steak and lobster. So I think that's why I specifically remember meeting him, because it was like all exciting.
Was there, and then I'll let you go, but I have to ask, why was Andy Dick intense?
Well, okay, so I want to say this. When you're first, I feel like all my most intense experiences were at the beginning of my career, because I didn't really know what to expect. And now it's like I'm more like numb to it, I guess. So it was one of my first movies, and he was like always in his trailer. But when he came out of his trailer, he was just kind of like a really intense guy, and like my heart would race so fast. I mean, he was super nice and stuff, but like also weird. Like he wasn't Gary Busey, but there was a part of him that could have been like maybe his like cousin or something. Like in terms of in terms of energy and personality and interaction, and like there's something together with them. But yeah, I mean, once we were on set, it was just very professional, like, you know, working, but it was like the moments in his trailer or like around, it was just like kind of awkward. But that was really fun. Like I got to put like the devil eyes in and I got to like, went to this contact person and the red eyes, and he was sitting on my shoulder, and yeah, it was pretty fun experience for the beginning. And I actually auditioned for it at the Hanson studio, which is like the Muppets, and it has a little Muppet guy on top of the studio, and it's all cobblestone, and like it's such a cute studio. So that was definitely fun, especially it was the beginning of my career, and I'm like, yay, the Andy Dick show. So yeah, but he yeah, I would say he kind of reminds me of Gary a little bit.
Maybe they're distant relatives in some way. Who knows?
I would say there's a possibility. Yes.
Well, you know, I always like to end the show on a positive note. Maybe I think you have been one of the most upbeat guests we've had on the show. What would your advice be to people if they want to get into film, or just what do we do in this age of coronavirus? We need Barbie and Kendra to give us advice.
Well, first of all, to everybody who's dealing with the coronavirus and everything going on, this is just absolutely difficult. None of this is easy for anybody. And being at home it's not easy. And so, you know, I'm just going to first of all give everybody a big hug, virtual hug, to everybody who's dealing with this. We're all going to get through it. Look, there's a lot of hardship and difficulties, and, you know, I'm going to shower so many good vibes to everybody, you know, to get through this healthy. And, you know, it's a very difficult time for a lot of people. So definitely, you know, if you are an actress or a movie maker or anything, this is a moment where you can use your creativity to help people, to make them laugh, to make them try to get out of this world that we're, you know, now living in, which is bizarre. And I want to say, like, don't be afraid of anything. I mean, not in terms of the virus, sorry, in terms of acting and in filmmaking. Be afraid of the virus. Be very careful. Wear your mask, social distance, take all precautions, wash your hands. But yeah, look, we're now moved into a social media face. We're right now on a Zoom meeting, all at home, or I'm assuming you guys are at home, having a conversation. So that opens up a world of opportunity. What can you do to get your voice out there? You know, can you do a Zoom video? Can you do an online video? There are ways you can do auditions and submit them digitally. You can become your own manager. You can actually do press releases for yourself. You can get yourself out there. They always say, oh, connections. Well, connections happen because you reach out to people and you say, hey, did you see this thing? So my thought is, you know, I think anybody has the possibility to be in this industry, and especially in days where we have phones and computers and that the editing technology is easier. I think that you can make a video, like a reel, which you can use as almost like a business card to be like, hey, while I was self-isolating, look, I created this thing, and get the word out. I mean, you can, you know, always do things yourself to get the word out. But also I think that just being creative and don't give up, don't ever give up. You know, if my favorite word is next, N-E-X-T, because if somebody says no, that means that it's not right now. It's next. Oh, how cute. Is that your cat or your dog?
Yeah, cat. He likes to pay a visit when we're in the middle of these.
Well, so cute. So yeah, that's what my advice is. Don't ever give up, you know, and just have fun, and don't make it so brain. Like don't make it too difficult, because it's not. I mean, we all are creative. Like if you're in the industry, you're creative, and just have fun. And, you know, everybody needs fun right now. So maybe your voice, your creativity, your touch on Instagram or YouTube or something, maybe it could help somebody, and maybe it could help you to get through this difficult time. So I just say stick with it. Don't give up, have fun, and, you know, whatever happens, like you can still have other jobs and things and whatever, but yeah, and just stay safe during these difficult times. And
I think that's the perfect note to end on. The only thing I would add is that it just reminds me that I always tell people the only real type of failure there is not putting yourself out there and not trying to do the things you want to do. To me, like, if you have tried something and you have went out there, it doesn't matter if you aim to be an actor and you were in a bunch of movies, but you weren't Brad Pitt. Well, you still were in movies, which is more than most people can say. And I just think people should always have a positive attitude about what they can accomplish and what they have accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I think that's one of the things is people want to be Brad Pitt. And I feel like that's very rare. And so you can be an actor and you can be a director and you can be a filmmaker and you might become Brad Pitt. But I think that to become Brad Pitt, you have to enjoy every second of what you do, and to, you know, live your life in a way you enjoy it. It's like you're doing it because you love it, because it's your heart and soul. And, you know, that I think is what it is. So I hope for everybody who's in this industry that it's you just have fun, and like no just means, okay, that person might not be the right person. Okay, so this door's closed. Let me go over here. Oh, that door's closed. Okay. Oh my gosh, this one's open. All right, so we got in this door. Now let's get to the next door, next door, next door. So you just keep finding the doors that open for you. And yeah, it's like spaghetti. If it sticks, great. Like we got Charlie on the phone for this interview. You guys really wanted to talk to him and you got to speak with him. So hopefully you'll get your Zoom call. But yeah, it's just such a pleasure speaking with you guys. You guys seem like amazing people, and it's so much fun connecting. And yeah, no, you are. I want to give you guys a high five.
Awesome. I need to give you a chance, if my listeners, if you want to promote Zorbits, because we didn't talk about it, but that's probably a story in and of itself. I've read that it brought your family closer together, and it's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no, definitely. It was really interesting when I created my company with my mom. It was almost like my acting got better because I was able to focus on I didn't have to like dive so deep into this. I don't know, when you focus too much on acting, it's like you're not good at acting. It sounds really strange. But yeah, so my mom and I were so fortunate to, we've had our company for 16 years and we sell products. And we do a lot of charity work, so we've been able to make a big difference. And right now we're doing masks, so we're selling masks. So if anybody needs one, just email or like Facebook me or something. I can send you one for free. Try to keep everybody safe here. But yeah, it's been a really good experience working with her. She's like the realist, and I'm like the dreamer. I'm like, we should do this. She's like, yeah, but this. And I've known her my whole life, and she's known me my whole life. So we work really well together. So it's been a really good experience.
What's the website for Zorbits?
So it's zorbits.net is our
Awesome.
website.
Awesome.
Yeah, we do all different kinds of gifts and stuff, and try to make people feel good. That's what life's about. So.
And everyone check out Barbie and Kendra Save Tiger King, only on Full Moon Features. You need to see it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Like, I was laughing so hard. So I hope all you guys enjoy it, and thank you guys so much. Thanks so much.
And thank you, Rob and Sydney, for coming on Parallax Views.
Thanks, you did a great job. Love Parallax.